I'm here today with Corrine Harrison, Chief Justice's Associate. Hi, Corrine.
Hi, Leslie.
So, Corrine, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to study law at the period in your life which you did?
Yeah, sure. I studied law probably a little bit later in life than most people. I had already completed an undergraduate degree, a double degree in history and politics in Canada. That's where I grew up. Then I moved to Australia where I met my husband. But before moving to Australia, I took a couple of years off and went backpacking. During that time, I lived and worked in a community in Nicaragua. While I was there, the indigenous people in that area were experiencing the sale of their traditional lands. They were being sold off to developers for the creation of tourist resorts. And so I experienced firsthand some of the trauma that the indigenous people experienced because of that sale. And all the time I kept thinking there must be a legal mechanism to stop this. I can't see, this doesn't seem right, but how is it legal? So that led me to an interest in international law and human rights law, and that's why I decided I went back to take up studying the law.
Okay. And what are your abiding memories of life as a law student at Flinders Law School?
Some of the best memories I have of life as a law student at Flinders include studying with friends. I met a great group of friends when I started at Flinders Law School. We would form a study group, and I can remember, periods during swap back where we'd be studying intensely together, holed up in the library in one of the group common rooms, working through our notes on evidence or civil procedure with the exam looming only weeks away. And we'd support each other and test each other, and when one of us was anxious about the exam, the others would take turns questioning them, supporting them, helping them to fill in their notes and vice versa. So that's probably one of the better memories.
And do you have any bad memories of your time at Flinders Law School?
Ironically, because I grew up in Canada, I do have memories of the cold winter afternoons at Flinders Law School, the wind coming across the hill and being huddled up in front of the coffee cart with a warm cup of coffee, waiting to go into a tutorial and shaking my head thinking, how did I end up in Australia freezing to death before I go into my law topic?
Now, do you have any regrets about your time at Flinders Law School?
If anything, I regret maybe not taking some of the topics that I really had an interest in. For example, I can remember I didn't sign up for international criminal law because I thought there wasn't any practical application to that topic in my later career. So I took something like corporate law instead, or one of the corporate law electives later on, instead, thinking that would look better on my CV. When in fact, I think back now and I think university is really a time when I could have engaged with those ideas and those areas of study that I was really interested in. And in the long run, it hasn't really affected my CV. That's nothing that anyone's ever looked at and said, where's your corporate law experience? You're not going to be qualified for this job. They treat us all as law graduates, and they're ready to help us learn when we get out. So I regret maybe not taking some of those topics I was really passionately interested about.
And do you have any tips for our new law students?
Again, if anything, find a good group of friends, find a group of people that you can trust and that will help to support you when you're studying and anxious about your exams or an upcoming assignment, people that you can work through problem-solving questions with. Don't get caught up in all of the competition. Really support each other, share your ideas. That way everybody comes out better off.
So can you tell us a little bit about what happened to you once you had your Flinders Law degree?
Well, before I even graduated from law school, while I was doing my PLT topics at Flinders, I was able to find work as a clerk. I'd done a couple of summer clerkships through my law degree, and then one of those summer clerkships ended up in part-time work while I was doing my last year of PLT. So I had some experience during that time of what it was like to work in a private law firm. That gave me the confidence to look for full-time work after I graduated, including applying to be a judge's associate. I had also had friends at Flinders University who had previously worked as judges associates and enjoyed it so much that they recommended that I apply. So I did. I sent in my application to the Chief Justice, who advertises at Flinders and at Adelaide University, usually in about March, for judges associates. Anybody can apply. He picks people to interview. I was asked to come in for an interview. He was a wonderful man. We had a very conversational interview, very relaxed, and really put me at my ease. And I was fortunate enough that after the interview, a couple of weeks later, I got a call from his office and I was offered the job. So my associateship is a one-year position where I work full-time with the Chief Justice. You don't need to be admitted yet to be an associate, but you do need to have finished all of your law study.
Okay, and how do you think your Flinders Law degree has helped you in this position?
Well, at Flinders, I mean, some of the very, very practical skills that we learn, like letter writing and researching and drafting memorandums, legal memorandums, those things are things that I do all the time in my job and that I do to assist the Chief Justice. I'll write letters to solicitors explaining what they need to, what points they'll need to talk about when they come to court, or to parties asking them to file different material in court. I'll also undertake research for the Chief Justice if we're hearing a matter and there's a point of law that he thinks there might be, an interesting case on, but he can't quite remember, or wants me to see if there's anything new. He'll ask me to research that topic, so I'll put into place some of the skills that I learned at Flinders University using the electronic research tools and the paper research tools.
Okay, thank you, Corrine. Now, in closing, is there anything that you would like to say to our first-year law students?
Enjoy your time at Flinders University and make sure that you support your colleagues. Make sure not to get caught up in all of the competition of it and really make the most of learning while you're at university. Hi, welcome to the Supreme Court. This is courtroom number 2 in the Supreme Court. This is one of the civil courtrooms. We don't hear any criminal matters here. This courtroom would be used if one judge is hearing a matter. That's why you've got one chair behind the judge's bench. So when a matter is called on, this is where the judge sits. He would come in just from the door behind there, walk up the stairs and take his place at the bench. In front of the judge's bench, you have the staff table. Now I work for the judge, I'm the judge's associate, and I sit at the staff table just in front of the judge. That way, during the course of a hearing, if he needs me to get anything out, hand him any paperwork, I can access that. Usually sitting beside me is another staff member that works for the judge. This person is called the judge's tip staff. They're a full-time assistant to the judge, and they're not usually legally trained. We also have chairs for the court reporters and any of the other court staff who are going to be taking down the transcript or what's being said in court. The lawyers who appear in court would stand at the bar table. The barristers stand here, behind the podiums, and make their submissions to the judge. Behind the barristers, we've got 2 tables where the solicitors will set up. Each side will have solicitors who will bring all of the paperwork and files into court. They can hand out any of the material to the barristers if they need it to help them during the course of their argument. Finally, you've got chairs reserved for the public gallery. Anybody's welcome to come into any of the court hearings. They're always open, and watch what goes on and watch the proceedings here. So that's where we've got the public gallery. So as a judge's associate, like any of the barristers who appear in court, I have to dress appropriately. I have to wear court attire. That includes, that you can see here, my bar jacket, what we call a jabot, and usually a barrister's robe. The judges wear something similar when they're in the civil courts, and when they're in the criminal courts, they wear a red robe. I thought I might take the time to tell you about one interesting experience I've had while working as an associate. We got to sit on a murder trial not too many months back. There was a young woman who was accused of killing her newborn baby. So I got to assist the judge while he sat through all of the evidence presented by the prosecution and the defense team in front of a jury as to prove the elements of murder. The trial only took about 5 days, but during that time we had all of the evidence admitted in the Crown case, and once the Crown had finished with their prosecution case, the defense got up and they called the accused person as a witness, and she gave evidence about her version of events. At the end of the trial, the jury went out to deliberate about their verdict and came back just after about 3 hours with a verdict of not guilty of murder and guilty of manslaughter. So that experience for me was very emotional, a lot of human emotion involved, a lot of drama, but at the same time, one of the more interesting legal experiences where I've seen the rules of evidence in play and the prosecution and defense working through a trial strategy, actually cross-examining witnesses and presenting evidence. So that's something that I'm glad I experienced while I was here as an associate.